What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering?
Introduction: Mori Ōgai in Bungo Stray Dogs. Mori Ōgai is a significant antagonist in Bungo Stray Dogs, where he serves as the leader of the Port Mafia, a criminal organization with immense power. His character is shaped by a Machiavellian intelligence, always several steps ahead of his opponents, and manipulating events to serve his ends. His ability, Vita Sexualis, manifests as a little girl named Elise, who acts as both a weapon and a constant companion. The fictional Mori differs starkly from his historical counterpart, the real-life Mori Ōgai, 1862-1922, a celebrated Japanese author, poet, and translator, who was known more for his literary pursuits and contributions to Meiji period Japan's cultural landscape. Bungo Stray Dogs draws on the real Mori Ōgai's works, embedding his literary themes into the fictional character, but it also significantly reinterprets his persona, transforming him from an intellectual and physician into a calculated crime boss. Part 1: The Real Mori Ōgai and His Literary Legacy. Before examining the fictionalized version of Mori Ōgai, it is crucial to understand who the real Mori Ōgai was and how his literary career left an indelible mark on Japanese literature. Mori Ōgai was born into a samurai family in the late Edo period and became one of the most influential literary figures of the Meiji era. His early life was steeped in the rigors of traditional Japanese education, but he soon became a pivotal figure in the development of modern Japanese literature through his experiences as a medical doctor and exposure to Western thought during his time studying in Germany. Ōgai's literary works, including Vita Sexualis, The Dancing Girl, and Sancho the Bailiff, explored themes of morality, the clash between Eastern and Western values, and the human condition. He was also deeply invested in historical studies and translations of Western texts. His novels and essays often had an autobiographical slant, blending his intellectual pursuits with reflections on Japan's modernization, societal norms, and identity. His most controversial work, Vita Sexualis, 1909, was banned shortly after publication for its exploration of human sexuality. It is in this work that we see a possible connection to Mori's ability in Bungo Stray Dogs, although the form this ability takes a little girl named Elise is a significant reinterpretation of Mori's original philosophical preoccupations. Part 2: Mori Ōgai in Bungo Stray Dogs, contrasting the real and the fictional. In Bungo Stray Dogs, Mori Ōgai is the embodiment of ruthless pragmatism. As the boss of the Port Mafia, Mori's every move is calculated for maximum gain, whether it be for power or to ensure the survival of his organization. His decisions often come across as cold, detached, and highly manipulative. The fictional Mori's ultimate goal is to maintain the balance of power between the Port Mafia, the armed detective agency, and other factions, always maneuvering pieces on a chessboard only he fully understands. This characterization is a radical departure from the real Mori Ōgai, whose intellectual pursuits and moral inquiries often reflected a more introspective and philosophical bent. The real Mori was a figure of cultural reform and enlightenment, while the fictional Mori is a man of subterfuge and domination. However, the connection between the two becomes clearer when one examines the works of the real Mori Ōgai, which often dealt with issues of control, power, and societal structure, although in much more abstract and personal ways. While the real Mori's works like Vita Sexualis explored intellectual and moral dilemmas, the fictional Mori represents a more concrete application of such themes in the cutthroat world of organized crime. His ability, Vita Sexualis, might have been inspired by Mori's reflections on the body, mind, and societal norms, but the way it manifests in Bungo Stray Dogs shifts those reflections into the realm of power dynamics and control over life and death. Part 3: Vita Sexualis as a literary reference and an ability. Mori Ōgai's ability in Bungo's Stray Dogs shares its name with his real-life novel, Vita Sexualis, a work that delved into the complexities of human sexuality, desire, and intellectual struggle. While the novel explored sexual consciousness, Mori's ability does not explicitly touch on such themes. Instead, it appears to invert the title's focus on adult sexuality, manifesting in the form of a little girl, Elise. This choice in the show raises several questions. Why does an ability named after a controversial work on human sexuality appear as an innocent young girl? And what does this reveal about Mori's character? One interpretation is that Elise embodies Mori's mastery over life, death, and human psychology. In the novel Vita Sexualis, the protagonist navigates his own sexual development, framed by intellectual curiosity and societal boundaries. By contrast, the fictional Mori is an expert at manipulating others, embodying his ability as a young girl who can switch between innocence and deadly power. Elise's unpredictability reflects Mori's nature. She can appear playful, charming, or violent depending on the situation, mirroring Mori's ability to switch personas depending on his needs. She is both a tool of manipulation and a reflection of his control over human emotion and life. The age and form of Elise also tap into the recurring theme of manipulation of innocence. By manifesting as a child, Elise contrasts Mori's own world-weariness and jaded outlook. Her innocence highlights Mori's perverse relationship with power. He wields control over a symbol of purity, bending it to his will. This mirrors the real Mori Ōgai's interest in societal and moral constraints, except in the anime, those constraints are weaponized in a literal sense. Part 4. Elise, the embodiment of Mori's ability and personality. Elise represents the core of Mori's persona. She serves as more than just an assistant or a weapon. She is a manifestation of his strategic mind, ruthless nature, and his ability to exploit those around him. Through Elise, the audience sees how Mori can maintain an air of detachment while commanding complete control. As his ability, Elise embodies Mori's almost godlike power to influence life and death, a role that mirrors Mori's position within the Port Mafia. She appears childlike and innocent but becomes a terrifying force when unleashed in battle, reflecting how Mori himself maintains a composed, rational exterior while being capable of the utmost cruelty when necessary. This duality of innocence and destruction plays on the themes of manipulation, vulnerability, and power that Mori, both as a character and as a metaphor for authority, represents. Moreover, Mori's control over Elise is absolute, reflecting his role as the ultimate puppeteer. His manipulation of others, whether it is Akutagawa, Dazai, or Atsushi, is reflected in his ability to command Elise's actions without question. Elise's existence also complicates Mori's humanity. While he appears capable of emotions, his emotional distance from real relationships is highlighted by how he relies on Elise, an artificial construct, to express his will. Part 5. Symbolism of the little girl in Mori's relationship to power. The choice of a little girl to embody Mori's ability can also be seen as a reflection of power dynamics, particularly the manipulation of vulnerability. By embodying his ability as Elise, Mori can exploit the perception of innocence, using her form to deceive and destroy his enemies. This ties into his broader methods of manipulation in the Port Mafia, where he utilizes people, often appearing to care for them or nurture their potential while ultimately using them for his own ends. Elise's childish form also serves as a disarming tool, making Mori's cruelty more insidious, just as Mori presents a calm and intellectual front while conducting morally ambiguous or outright horrific actions. Elise's appearance hides her true lethal potential. This juxtaposition between form and function adds a layer of complexity to Mori's character, emphasizing how he bends traditional power dynamics to his will. In this way, Elise also symbolizes Mori's control over the concept of life and death, particularly through manipulation. As a doctor in his real-life incarnation, Mori Ōgai worked to preserve life. In Bungo's Stray Dogs, His fictional counterpart uses his knowledge and power to wield life as a weapon. Elise can both protect and destroy, representing Mori's complete control over these forces. Her form as a young girl adds a disturbing element to this power, showing Mori's detachment from typical human morality. Part 6. Thematic parallels between Vita Sexualis and Mori's ability. While Vita Sexualis, the novel, is primarily concerned with the exploration of sexual consciousness and the role of intellectualism in confronting desire, Mori's ability and the form of Elise are a twisted reimagining of these themes. Elise's childlike appearance complicates Mori's psychological landscape, suggesting a relationship with power, control, and detachment that might stem from Mori's intellectual pursuits, but which have manifested in a far darker way. Part 7. Mori's intellectual detachment and emotional distance. The connection between Mori Ōgai's ability and his emotional distance is crucial to understanding his character in Bungo Stray Dogs. In the real Vita Sexualis, the protagonist attempts to intellectualize his experiences with desire, framing them within the context of moral and societal expectations. In the anime, Mori likewise intellectualizes his relationships, viewing others as tools in his grand designs. Elise becomes the embodiment of this detachment, a reflection of his need for control over emotions, life, and death. She is not a human being, but a creation of his ability, existing solely to serve him, which reinforces Mori's sense of detachment from authentic relationships. This emotional distance is also reflected in how Mori interacts with the people under his command. He often speaks in a calm, rational tone. But behind that facade lies a man who manipulates everyone around him for his own benefit. Whether it's manipulating Akutagawa to foster his growth or pushing Dazai to confront his inner demons, Mori approaches these relationships from a perspective of control. Elise, as a physical manifestation of his ability, symbolizes the ways in which Mori intellectualizes and dominates not only others' lives, but also his own emotions, avoiding any true emotional connection. Part 8. Fandom interpretations, Mori as a pedophile.
For saying that Mori Ōgai has no proof that he's a PDF file. First of all, this comes from chapter 50.5, written by Asagiri himself. Fukuzawa literally says, "Is that your daughter?" He says, "No, she's my wife," when referring to Elise. To which Elise calls him a lolicon complex pervert. This is also in the manga where Fukuzawa literally says, "Do you still, after Young posted?" Gotta kind of bleep videos, roll the footage.
I'm quite grateful for that. But I prefer the women in my life to be under 12.
A controversial but widely accepted interpretation in the Bungo Stray Dogs fandom is the belief that Mori Ōgai is a pedophile, particularly because of his relationship with Elise. This interpretation arises from the fact that Mori's ability takes the form of a little girl who appears to be around 10 years old, and the way he interacts with Elise often includes moments of physical affection, such as holding her in his lap or making playful comments about her. These interactions, combined with Elise's young appearance, have led many fans to interpret Mori's character as possessing an unhealthy fixation on young girls. This interpretation is not explicitly confirmed in the anime or manga, but it is reinforced by certain scenes and dialogue that seem to hint at Mori's attraction to Elise's childlike form. One of the more notable examples is when Mori, with Elise on his lap, makes comments about her appearance, which can be read as inappropriate. These moments of implied attraction are subtle, but enough to fuel the widely accepted fan theory of Mori as a pedophile.
And that he's weird. It stated that he's a Drake. And yet, some of y'all actually still defend him? Like,
I'm gonna try and make this clear and concise, because every time I talk about Mori, what I say gets taken out of context, or, I get mixed up and I don't explain myself as well as I could, or the critical thinking of commenters just isn't there. But this is what I genuinely think of him. This is what I've thought of him since I read the manga once. He certainly acts like a lolicon and like a pedophile. But why?
Adding a layer of discomfort to his character. The fandom's interpretation of Mori as a pedophile speaks to the inherent unease surrounding his character. While Elise is technically not a human child but a manifestation of Mori's ability, the fact that Mori treats her as a young girl and sometimes expresses affection toward her in ways that can be interpreted as romantic creates an unsettling dynamic. This further reinforces the idea that Mori's emotional and moral detachment allows him to objectify others, reducing Elise to a tool for his power while maintaining an inappropriate fixation on her childlike form. Part 9. Elise and the theme of power dynamics. In the context of power dynamics, Elise's childlike appearance may also represent Mori's dominance over innocence and purity, which he exploits for his own purposes. This exploitation of innocence mirrors Mori's manipulation of those under his control in the Port Mafia, particularly younger characters like Akutagawa. Mori fosters their potential while simultaneously exploiting their emotional vulnerabilities to strengthen his own position. Elise is not just a symbol of Mori's ability to manipulate others, but also of his desire for absolute control. As a little girl, she appears to embody purity and naivety, yet under Mori's influence, she becomes a powerful weapon. This duality reflects Mori's own dual nature. He is the calm, collected doctor, but also a ruthless crime boss who uses people to further his ambitions. In this sense, Elise's form as a child could be seen as Mori's desire to maintain control over purity and innocence, twisting these concepts into tools for violence. Part 10. Elise as a reflection of Mori's stunted emotional growth. Mori's emotional detachment may also suggest a form of stunted emotional development, which is symbolized by Elise's childlike form. As someone who has devoted his life to achieving power and control, Mori has cut himself off from genuine human connection. In this sense, Elise might represent Mori's inability to develop emotionally beyond a certain point, forever frozen in a state of childlike detachment from deeper emotions like empathy or love. This interpretation ties into the fandom's belief that Mori is a pedophile, as it suggests that his fixation on Elise is rooted in his own emotional immaturity and his desire for control over vulnerability. By choosing to manifest his ability as a child, Mori may be revealing more about his own insecurities and emotional state than he realizes. He is a man who craves control, but has lost touch with the complexities of human relationships. Elise is a symbol of Mori's arrested development, his inability to grow emotionally, and his tendency to intellectualize everything in his life, even his own relationships. Part 11. Mori's ability as a commentary on his philosophy. The use of Elise as Mori's ability also serves as a commentary on his philosophical worldview. Mori believes that power is the ultimate currency in life, and he uses every resource at his disposal, including people, to secure that power. By manifesting his ability as a young girl, Mori demonstrates his view that even the most innocent or vulnerable aspects of life can be weaponized if one has the intellect and the will to do so. His philosophy is one of survival of the fittest, where emotions like compassion or love are weaknesses to be exploited rather than embraced. In this sense, Elise's form is a reflection of Mori's worldview. She represents his belief that innocence is an illusion, something that can be manipulated and used for personal gain. Mori's ability to control Elise without any apparent emotional attachment further underscores his utilitarian approach to life. People are tools, and even the most innocent can be shaped into weapons under the right circumstances. Part 12. Conclusion. The complexities of Mori Ōgai in Bungu Stray Dogs. Mori Ōgai's character in Bungu Stray Dogs is a complex amalgamation of literary references, philosophical explorations, and controversial interpretations. While the real-life Mori Ōgai was an intellectual who grappled with themes of societal change and personal development, the fictional Mori is a Machiavellian figure who embodies the darker side of intellect, using knowledge and power to manipulate, control, and destroy. His ability, vita sexualis, manifests as a little girl, Elise, whose form serves as a metaphor for Mori's detachment from genuine human emotions and his desire for control over even the most innocent aspects of life. The fandom's interpretation of Mori as a pedophile adds a disturbing layer to his character, suggesting that his fixation on Elise's childlike form reflects a deeper emotional and psychological dysfunction. Whether Mori's attraction to Elise is romantic or symbolic, it reinforces his role as a manipulator who bends the innocent and the vulnerable to his will. Ultimately, Mori's character is a fascinating study of power, control, and emotional detachment. His ability, Elise, embodies the contradictions at the heart of his character. The appearance of innocence hiding a deadly power, and a man who intellectualizes every aspect of life, even at the cost of his own humanity. In the world of Bungo Stray Dogs, Mori Ōgai stands as a reminder that knowledge and intellect, when divorced from compassion and empathy, can lead to a cold, calculating view of the world, one where even the purest forms of life can be twisted into weapons of destruction. So what do you think? Is the fandom correct in thinking of Mori as a pedophile, or does he use Elise's appearance to keep people at arm's length? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of Bungo Stray Dogs, characters, and story. Until next time, dare to be unique.